Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Wilderness Wavelength podcast. This is George here, and I just wanted to give a quick little intro before we get into the heart and the meat of this podcast. On this episode, featuring my best friend Jamie, who's out in the Kootenays, and we actually dig into some forest fires. And the timeline for this episode was like the day that Jasper got evacuated. And so we're recording it that night, and we talk about it a bit, and we get into some forest fire stuff on this episode. And then the next day is when everything went crazy, and man, things just happened so quick, it seemed like. And the town just burnt. We're still not sure like what the impact fully is there, and like they're still currently fighting the fire there, and it's been a rough 24 hours. Just watching and following along from the sidelines here, watching the town burn, and the story of the residents that have been there, and a lot of people unsure if their house is still around or not. So I just wanted to mention that before we get into this podcast, because Jasper's been such a big part of my life, even growing up. I grew up closer to Edson, but it was Marmot you go snowboarding every weekend. You drive the buddies up there, and we spend a lot of time in Jasper. And then once we were living in Edmonton, then we moved to Hinton last summer, and I think it was the first, maybe the second day when we got to Hinton, we went and got our Jasper Park pass. Because we're going to make sure with it right on our doorstep, we spend as much time in Jasper as possible. And how my work schedule worked last year, it was a little bit different because I had Mondays and Tuesdays off. My wife was working from home. And so then I always was hanging out with Casey. And so then it was like, okay, we got to get out of the house Mondays and Tuesdays so that Christina can work and we're not distracting her. And it was such a great excuse. So every week pretty much we would be heading into Jasper. And a lot of that time was just exploring. Before it always seemed like I was in a bit of a rush. You go into Jasper, you're going, okay, we're going to Moline today. You go in there, you do that. Whereas when it was like, I got the whole day to explore, half the time Casey's just napping in the back of the truck, so I can just drive all these back roads that I haven't tried in Jasper. It's like, hey, I've never been down this road before. Let's go check it out. And I was, so happy to have that opportunity last summer and explore some things. Like I'd never been into like Jasper Park Lodge and explored around there very, very much or anything. So I had a chance to go in there and do some little hikes around like Pyramid Lake, and it was such a beautiful part of the country and the world, really. And Jasper will rebuild, of course, and that's nature. We kind of dig into that a little more on the podcast, that nature, it has a way of coming back, and it'll rejuvenate itself, and it'll grow, and it'll be beautiful again. And but right now it's tough. So I just wanted to give a little intro for that. Jamie and I get into a little bit of the forest fire stuff, and he's a volunteer firefighter too, and he's living in the Kootenays, which is also on fire at the moment. So it's pretty close to both of us, and we'll get into that. Thanks for listening, and really appreciate the support, and hearts and thoughts and prayers and everything go out to all the residents of Jasper, and man, all the animals that have been displaced, and then of course all the people that have been out there that are just fighting fires, and they're away from their families just to try to keep this fire under control. So thanks to everyone that's involved, and our wishes and hopes and prayers go out to the people that have been affected. And I'm really hoping in the future here I'll be able to find a way that I can give back and help out, whether it's going to help rebuild, or maybe it's just a monetary thing or something, but give back to a place that's given so much to me. So thanks for listening, and let's dig into it.
Wilderness Wavelength.
Absolutely. So you've been giving back, but you'd never say it online.
No, I have not been giving back, but I am thinking about giving back is a great idea, and I will.
Welcome to the Wilderness Wavelength podcast.
Welcome to it. This is the Wilderness Wavelength podcast. My name is George, and
Jamie.
excited for. There's who's this?
Jamie.
It's Jamie. Jamie, you're not gonna believe it. You're like one of the probably will believe this, actually. You're one of the most favorited guests on the podcast, and one of the most downloaded episodes. your episode, it was a couple months ago, but how long can you survive in the wilderness? You took the quiz, and it turns out you could make it like a month, maybe, or so.
Longer than you could. A month longer than you could. That's it.
Yeah, mine was like 2 weeks, which seems, I mean, I feel like I could do longer, but I don't know. Jamie,
We should do this in real life. We should actually like get into the nitty gritty, get sent in with the helicopter and everything, and see who can survive.
yeah.
You wouldn't like
Man,
that?
I don't know. It's just like, what if you lose? Are you just dead then? It's like, I guess you didn't win that one.
I guess you
Um,
find out, right? But
yeah,
there's always like safety mechanisms in place.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would potentially be down to do that at some point. It's just like, job and family and the priorities of me just living in the wilderness on my own. Like, I just feel like, well, I don't know. I feel like I beat you. I just, how committed am I to it? But yeah, this episode, we're getting into some, we got a new game to play, which is exciting. Game, we'll challenge you with Jamie. And we're going to talk about okay, I'm recording this outside right now in my backyard. There's ash falling on my computer right now, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
I can see it actually on the screen.
Yeah, like I didn't notice it until I didn't notice it at all today. It's been smoky, but we're gonna get into some forest fires and stuff too. Jamie, volunteer firefighter, not forest. Any interest in doing the forest fighting?
So I have my clearance or accreditation, I guess, to do it.
Yeah,
But and you can make a lot of money doing it.
yeah,
And it's long shifts, long hours. It's a very physical work. I would love to do it, but with my full time job, it's kind of hard to get away.
yeah. I hats off, hands up to everybody that's out there fighting forest fires. Because man, there's just like you say, I've met a few of the guys that are regularly out there, and worked with some before that have came and worked with me in the past. And it's like, oh man, like how was the last summer you were fighting forest fires? How was it? And she's like, yeah, man, you're up for 21 days at a time. You get 2 days off, you're back in there, and it's just you're in the heat, you're in the battle, you're fighting, you're literally fighting a fire that's just
Yeah.
coming, and like it's chasing down farms and homes and towns, and it's just like, okay, what do you do? Wind changes. It's 40. It's yeah, it was almost 40 degrees here, and I mean when you're right in the battle. So I want to say that first off, hats off to all the firefighters and forest firefighters that are out
Absolutely.
there. You're in
Yeah.
BC. You're
There,
in Nelson, BC. What's the fire situation out there right now?
oh man, there's fires all over the valley here. Up the valley, in Slocan, and even right across the street, actually.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I mean, it's pretty smoky here. Yeah, I don't think it's anything like the Jasper situation, but let me correct myself on that. Like up the valley, there's towns getting cleared out.
Yeah,
Yeah, the city of Slocan is on evacuation alert. The city of Silverton or town of Silverton was cleared out. They were evacuated. So highways are closed. Like it is serious up here. It is serious.
crazy. And then as we're recording this, who knows, like with this coming out on in a few days, but as we're recording this last night, Jasper, like the town of Jasper, but also Jasper National Park got evacuated. Everyone's kind of I think I heard there's people kind of heading to Edmonton now too. Might have cleared up the road a little bit, but most of the people last night all evacuated. Like one road out of town, you're heading east, you're going to BC, which is, I mean, there's, like you mentioned, there's fires all over the place there too. Crazy, man. It's crazy. Okay, let's get into this. The podcast question of the week. You came up with this question. This podcast is not a controversial podcast. I try not to try not to get into too much controversy.
Because there's a lot of opinions about what.
So many opinions. So
Yeah.
I posted this question on Alberta Camping, which is a spot I post a lot of the podcast questions on. In like 30 minutes, over 100 comments on it, and then comments disabled on the post, and then post removed. Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and so I screenshotted some of the pictures, like some of the comments before they got deleted. because I figured I'm like, oh man, like it got like there was people like arguing on it, and I was like, man, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's like a status on fire.
yeah, it was like, okay, so the question was, what do you think is the reason for the forest fires in Alberta in the past few years? Heat wave, pine bark beetles, human, camper negligence, human caused things like that. So I'm gonna read a couple of these comments and then we can dig into it a little bit.
Okay, okay.
This was predicted by science. We're just getting started in the long run. Karen says lightning strikes. This guy says climate change. We were told 30 years ago this would happen. It's only the opening rounds. Every single year will be worse than the last. A lot of like bleak, really bleak I mean, it's Facebook comments. I mean, what do you expect? But um, this was kind of brought on by ourselves due to nothing is clearing the underbrush, leaves, needles, fallen trees out of the
Oh
forested
yeah.
area.
There's
There's
the fire stop people that's what this guy's talking about. There's fire stop people that get in and
yeah,
they clear out the underbrush in the forest,
yeah,
and it removes like fire has like chances of fire starting up and burning up. You know
yeah,
about the fire stop thing.
yeah. Um, Carl says extremely lefty arsonists ain't gonna climate emergency itself. That's where the comments really started going crazy. There's people like saying it's arsonists. There's a lot of arsonists going out there starting. Do you believe that? Do you think people are out there lighting these on purpose?
No, no, I definitely not. I don't think not on purpose. I think there's a lot of there's probably in the past few years probably a lot more recreational vehicle use.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which also is a big contributor to it. Because you know your muffler on your ATV.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're known
Yeah.
to cause fires. Yeah.
Hmm.
This guy says after logging, the removal of aspen and other deciduous trees, then only planting coniferous for future reharvest is rarely spoken of. Interesting. I hadn't heard that before. I mean,
Neither.
um, I don't know if that's true. Yeah, like I say, I don't. A lot of the stuff may not be true. It's just Facebook comments. So, it's nature. 70% of wildfires currently burning here in Alberta are human caused. The rest lightning strikes.
In Alberta, it's pretty bad. A lot of a lot of the fires were caused by cigarettes.
Yeah.
People flicking cigarettes out the window in Alberta.
This guy says, in reality, forest fires weed out. I think I'm leaning more to what this guy has to say. He says, in reality, forest fires weed out the old dead growth and clean out the forest. They're a very important part of the life cycle of forest. And with all this forest management that we've been doing the last 50 years or so, there's no natural forest fires to clean out the deadfall. Years and years of leaf buildup and dead trees and deadfall are incredibly flammable and just waiting to burn up. I
Same
think
thing.
that's what's going on. I don't know if it's because we're not taking care of it right. It's just like historically, forest fires would, decimate a spot. There's not a ton of people living there, and they would just eventually burn themselves out. They'd get to the top of a mountain, whatever, and they're done. And then that forest, okay, now this forest is 100 years old. And I think with all the population and, like we're expanding, then we're putting out fires so they don't destroy towns and farms and homes and, people's livelihoods. And because of that, then yeah, you do have each year it's a little more crispy out there. I'm leaning more to that than arsonists going out and lighting fire. I don't know what that's about, but
Well, on so there's geologists that are predicting this area in the Kootenays. You've been out to the Kootenays.
yeah,
It's
beautiful.
it's very lush. It's very green.
Mm,
There's a lot of trees. But they're saying by the year 2040, this is going to be more going towards a desert.
wow.
Yeah. I don't know if
2040,
I
not that
believe
far
that.
away.
I don't know if I believe that as much, but it could happen. Like, yeah, I don't know if you ever been to Trail.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Trail, like the sides, like there's trees and stuff out there, but it's a little more desert, right? Like
yeah,
there's a lot of rocks and there's not as many trees in the side there. But they're saying that this area of the Kootenays that we're in up by Nelson is supposed to be a lot like trail in the next few years,
Hmm.
just due to climate change.
Yeah. Climate change. Climate change exists. I know it's like it's another one of those controversial ones and conspiracy theories and whatever, but I mean, we as a race, as a species, are not kind to the earth, like we're raping and pillaging her and just trying to, make as much money as we can. We burn down the rainforest to make more farmland, to make more money. We clear out trees, we pollute, hey, it's millions of dollars to put this chemical into, get rid of it properly. Let's just throw it in the ocean or throw it in the river to get rid of it that way. It happens. And it's a lot to do with greed and money and stuff, which is like, it's tough, man. It's a tough conversation to have, and it's like not a positive conversation, but I think it's reality. And
Greed, you say greed and money, but and yeah, while that might be true, I think a lot of it is comfortability. Like people want to be comfortable,
yeah,
right? And they want ease of access to everything. Like everything
yeah,
happens now, right away, right? If I want to go get a set of tires or something, I need it to be available right now because life doesn't stop, right?
right.
And well, it might, yeah, it's greedy for sure, but I mean, it's all in the name of progress. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a double-edged sword.
No, I hear that 100%. And I think that we will, there's people out there that are way smarter than I am and maybe even smarter than you are that are working on ways
Probably
to
not.
ways to solve these problems that there is solutions. There are things we can do. But I think we as a, uh I keep saying as a species, but I don't know. As an individual, really, there's a way we can just lower our impact on the planet. And I think if you can do that, maybe just be a little more conscious of how you're living your life. That might help in the long run. It might make you, even if it just makes you feel better about yourself, like, hey, I recycled this, or hey, I turned off this light that I didn't need on, or like you say, I didn't need to be, I didn't need those tires right now. I waited till I could get a recycled pair or something, like
I,
there's solutions out there.
I was watching. I was on vacation this weekend, and during my vacation, I watched a documentary. It's
Hmm.
on it's on YouTube. You can actually go on YouTube. It's free to watch.
Yeah.
It's called The Minimalist. Or wait,
Mm.
Minimalism.
Minimalism. It sounds
Minimalism.
familiar.
Yeah. So you can go on there. It's a pretty popular documentary. And
Yeah.
it's all about cutting down your footprint.
Hmm.
And it's basically what you need. So it's using what you need
Yeah.
and using what actually brings you joy. Like now I'm here my home right now, and I'm looking around, and I have so much shit.
Yeah.
But do I really need it all? Like I
No.
get I'm looking at some stuff. I'm like, yeah, that could go in the garbage. That could go in the garbage.
Yeah.
Like, and I think people are brought up in this society to be consumers, right?
Oh yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's the drive,
Yeah.
and I think that's the reason that we're in this place
Yeah.
right now. It's
Yeah.
just it because people are bred to want
Yeah. And
and
there's
and
a
not necessarily focus on what they need.
right. And it's tough for us because we're living in Canada, which is like an affluent country. We can get anything we want at the click of a mouse or whatever. But then we're preaching to other countries who have very little, who are like trying to progress. We're like, hey man, I don't know about using that old diesel car. It's, you got to save up and get one of those electric cars, and they're battling just to put food on the table. So yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah,
I mean, and a lot of what we're talking about is political and controversial. Like you're saying,
right.
you don't want to be a controversial
This is not a controversial
person.
podcast.
No, 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 that's not what this is, right? There's just a lot of things that I mean that people they quickly make a decision on,
Hmm.
and but it's not necessarily correct. Like
Right.
like the fact that electric vehicles will help in the future, maybe, but it still takes a lot to produce the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
and and once you get the vehicles running, is it necessarily more efficient to do that? I don't know. Will it slow down society? Maybe it will. But there, yeah, it's a big convoluted topic,
Yeah,
right?
it's a can of worms. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you are out there and struggling with the forest fires, if you're listening to this right now and been evacuated, like we're in Alberta, it seems like there's a lot burning at the moment. We're smoky in here. Yeah, our thoughts are with you. And I don't know what the solution is right now, Jamie. I don't know. There's it's just tough. It's tough seeing people struggling and then it's just tough going on. And then there's so much negativity around it. It's just like, oh, do we got to be negative about it, or can we just, help each other out?
It doesn't have to be negative. You're right. Yeah.
Right.
And I think actually watching the documentary that I did, Minimalism, I think it was kind of a sign for me. I
Yeah.
think I think what people need to do is they need to realize that they can live with a lot less than they're living
Yeah. Yeah, I
with.
definitely can.
And to kind of put that into practice however they can.
Yeah.
There's your creature comforts like your TV and stuff. Like, yeah, that's cool. You have that and you watch TV. You don't watch TV. You're not a TV guy. But
Ceiling
uh,
fans. I see a ceiling fan going on at your place right now. You sure you need that on right now, Jamie? Or
well,
rip it down.
it's fucking hot here. So
Jamie was our first guest on this podcast, episode 1, and we talked about the Iron Man is it Iron Man competition? Iron Man, yeah, it is Iron Man competition. Yeah, where you're running, you're biking, and you're swimming. Supposed to be coming up next month. We haven't really touched on it much. I was just wondering what happened.
yeah. So I started training there
Yeah.
for the first part of the year,
Yeah.
and so I hate to I'm not the guy that makes excuses. I don't like making excuses, but
Get
I'm
ready
gonna
for
give you some
one.
excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a little thing called arthritis,
Mm-hmm.
psoriatic arthritis, and it's a rheumatoid arthritis, and it started to really dig into my joints.
Yeah.
And I when I was waking up, I had trouble running, I had trouble moving. I couldn't walk, a lot of days. Even just to make it to work was tough. Even just to pour a cup of coffee was difficult.
Hmm.
So I went to see the doctor, and the healthcare system right now isn't really good. And if you need a specialized service, it's not really good in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wait a long time. Especially, I've been on a doctor's list, like a home care doctor, for 3 years now to try and
Wow.
get a doctor.
Yeah.
So, and no phone calls, no nothing. But that's just the home doctor. That's not the specialist. So I have to wait until August for the specialist to come and see me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my training has been few and a bit. I try to run. I try to run every day. I try to run 5K every day, but
Yeah.
um, it's been difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huh. Have you looked into? Yeah, we're in the same issue where doctor unavailable. I've got the whole family on the waiting list right now. Nothing. Um, have you looked into like natural remedies? I don't know. My dad, I think, has, or I don't know if he has a rheumatoid arthritis, but he was big into, I want to say, glucosamine. So that's like a powder. Yeah, he was drinking, like mixing it with the drink every day or something. It seemed like that helped him.
So there was, like for arthritis and glucosamine. I've done a little bit of research on that. I could show you the pill bottle of glucosamine that I have right now,
Yeah.
and I put it into practice and I've tried it. It doesn't really work for me. Doesn't mean it won't work for anyone. There's not a lot of documented science behind it,
Yeah.
but it is an option.
Yeah. So, I guess that being said, you're not doing the Ironman this
I had
August.
to back out. My
Yeah.
friend is still doing it, so
Nice.
I'll be at the Iron. I'll be cheering
Perfect.
him on.
Cheer
So
him on. Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, Iron Man sounds like a cool one. I was talking with we had Tara on a few episodes ago, and she's from Grand Cache, big into like we talked about the Wilmore Wilderness Park. But like she's I think she's doing the half the death race this year, if I'm right. Like the Canadian death race up in Grand Cache.
Mhm.
And man, I love the idea of it. So that is on my list. You kind of jumped in to the Iron Man thing out of nowhere, it felt like. Like it wasn't like you'd been, okay, I'm doing a marathon every couple months or whatever. Like it
It
was a
was
bit,
a it was a lofty goal.
yeah. Yeah. I remember when you brought it up, I said, that's a lofty goal. And you said, I got this. All right.
And
Um,
my buddy, he's doing really good. He's training really hard.
yep.
He just ran 27 kilometers this weekend, and like he dedicated himself to it fully, and he's doing really well.
Yeah.
It's achievable. It's achievable. Actually, I think he'd be great to have on the podcast to talk about it.
I'll get him on. Yeah. I'd love to talk to him. What would it be better? Maybe like a before and after. Maybe a during. Maybe he could like talk to me. That would strap a mic to him like swimming or something, and
Yeah, right, right.
just on his
He-
floaty.
his name is Spencer Fraser. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
He's very clever. I think you guys would get along. So
I wish him the best in the Ironman race. I'd love to chat with him and see what's involved with that because, man, for me it's daunting. It's like what you're swimming 3 kilometers in an open lake, and then you're pedal
3.8 kilometers
three
in
sorry
an open lake,
in an open lake, and then you're pedal biking 782 kilometers, and it's like
180 kilometers,
180 kilometers, and then you're running to the moon and back. Like it's just like it's
42 kilometers.
42 kilometers. Um, all that sounds super daunting. But I'm always impressed when I hear that someone completed it. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like cheers to you. And even those guys they're doing, I haven't heard much of it lately, actually. I don't, maybe I'm just out of the loop or something, but like the Spartan race and those kind of things were like super big for a few years.
They're still happening,
Still
but
happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. They've kind of died in popularity for sure. You don't hear
Yeah.
a lot of people. Everyone's got their medals, right?
Oh yeah, you get your Spartan medal and then you're complete. I always like those. Like we did a mud run, like a 5K mud run, in Red Deer. Man, it seemed like actually quite a few years ago now. It yeah, 5K mud run almost too easy. The Spartan race, you're like, okay, I'm climbing walls and going underneath barbed wire and stuff. But yeah, props to everyone doing that. Props to all the firefighters and the Spartan racers on this episode. Okay, let's
And
play a game.
triathlon,
And
Iron
yeah,
Man.
all right, and props to all the triathloners too.
Wait, you ever research David Goggins at all?
Yeah, read his book.
Yeah, I've read both his books. He's 2 books.
Is his what's his big book called? What's the main one?
Can't Hurt Me.
Can't Hurt Me. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And actually by reading, I never read it. I listened to him read like the audiobook version of it. Inspiring dude, but also not how I want to live my life. Cause like he's like, you gotta fight through it. You gotta, that's like that Jocko Willing too, is like you gotta fight the pain, and every day you get up at 4 and you're not complete unless you're bleeding and sweating and
Well, there's something to be said about that kind of tenacity, though, right? Like that's what people want.
Yeah, I
They
appreciate
want
that.
to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, that's a strong-willed guy who can accomplish a lot of things because he forces himself to do hard things so that other hard things for us are easy for him now. It's like, oh, I can do that because I just I accomplished this goal, so I can do this goal, which
I've proved what can be done, so
Yeah.
you do it now.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, it's great, but yeah, it seems listening to David Goggins, I'm like inspired, but also I'm like, okay, man, like I feel like you're just living a life of pain, like he's talking about joining the Marines. Is it the Marines he's doing the boot camp?
Yeah, he did the Marines. It was the Navy
Oh,
SEALs
Navy
that
SEALs,
he
right? Yeah.
yeah
Um,
that he was going to get into, and he did the 3 Hell Weeks, I think.
yeah,
And
Hell Weeks. That's what it was. Yeah, and
he didn't do the he failed the first two, and then passed, and then went back again a third time to pass it. So
yeah, and like the reasons he failed too was like is I can't quite remember. Was it like his leg was broken or he's bleeding too much or something? Like there was.
the oh god, geez, yeah, you're right. It's hard to remember, but for sure he failed the first time. I think it was because like he couldn't physically do it, like his
Yeah,
body shut down.
yeah,
And same with the second time, but then he pushed through and did it again. So
yeah. Hell Week, crazy. If you don't know what Hell Week is, Google that because like it's to get into the SEALs and it's just yeah, it sounds like
yeah.
quite the experience.
Yeah, I wonder if they must have something like that here for the joint task force here in Canada. They must
Yeah.
have something similar.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because you want like those elite guys and girls to be, if they're protecting your country or even just like a police force out there. Yeah, you want them to have some training to deal with the bad guys for sure.
There's another book out. It's been out for a while. Oh, geez, almost probably 10 years now. It's called Stealing Fire. It's by
Yeah, I read that one.
Jamie Wheeler and Stephen Kotler, and it's an amazing book. And they talk about the Navy SEALs,
Yeah,
and they talk about the flow state that the Navy SEALs have,
yeah,
what it takes to be a Navy SEAL and work together with somebody and just become kind of an amalgamated unit where nobody's really a leader, but
yeah.
everyone plays their own part. And I think that's kind of a cool book to read. So check that out.
Yeah, I would love to be in a group like that where like you say, everyone knows what it takes and what needs to get done, and each one has their own special skill set or um, like there's something they offer to the group. Yeah, it definitely that's a good book. Yeah, Stealing Fire. Recommend that one too. Are you reading motivational books? Is that like a regular thing for you?
I've been reading I've been reading a lot of fiction lately.
Fiction?
Because yeah, fiction. I was never really into fiction. What got me into reading was more the motivational stuff, but
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of fiction lately.
Any
And
good
like
fiction?
yeah, I read this historical fiction. It was based on a story. It wasn't the actual story, but it was about I don't know. It was about this girl who was raised in the time of dictionaries and when dictionaries were put together by men.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, when they were going through the women's suffrage movement and stuff like that, she it was hard for females to kind of get into certain roles, and this was one of them. um and she worked her way in and was actually the best at it. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was a really interesting book.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what
Interesting.
it has to do with this conversation, but it was a good book.
Oh, I always love talking about books with people. I finished off the Arnold Schwarzenegger book, Be Useful. That's a good one. It's kind of like goes through his life story a bit, and he's a motivational guy too. So if you're looking
Oh
for
yeah, Arnie, dude.
Arnie, yeah,
If you're gonna follow someone's life, you're gonna like, yeah, I think he's the guy, right? Because he came from out of country. He came from out of country. He pushed
yeah,
for
became
that
like the
American independence. Like he loved the idea of America.
oh yeah, he wanted to be a bodybuilder, and he became like the best in the world, and he wanted to be an actor, and became like one of the top actors of all time. So yeah,
Well,
Arnie.
another thing about that though, like talking about that, is that the older I get, I feel like America seems like an awesome place to live. Like up here in Canada, we have healthcare, we have blah blah
Hmm.
blah blah blah. We have everything. It's very free up here. It's really nice.
Yeah,
But America to me actually seems a little more free. It seems like you can do kind of whatever you're more independent there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I never really thought about it too much until the past couple of years. I'm like, America, I think, is a sweet place. I think I'd like to live there.
Really? Would you
Yeah,
move to America from, like, you're in the Kootenays, beautiful Kootenays? You moved to America?
yeah, I think so.
Wow. Hmm.
I think so. I mean, not right now.
Yeah.
I love where I'm at, and I think Canada is a beautiful country.
Yeah.
But if you're going to get dual citizenship somewhere, I think the States would be the place to go.
Wow. Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, let's get into there's a new game on the podcast. Actually, this is the first ever rendition of this game on the Wilderness Wavelength podcast.
First ever.
First ever.
First ever. First ever.
Jamie Merkel gets to listen or gets to play along with this one. I got
Yeah.
five questions, Jamie.
Okay.
And this game is called Finish on Google. So
That sounds pretty sexual.
it's not. It's not.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is I'm gonna you know when you type something into Google and then it like finishes it for you?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay,
Should I
okay.
find a different name for this? Yeah. Okay. Well, this episode is
I
called
love
Finish.
finish on Google.
Finish on Google.
Stay with finishing. I finish on Google pretty much every night.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Question number 1. So here's what I typed in. What to do when camping. Now I'm going to give you 3 options and you tell me which one was higher. This is not necessarily the first response, but is the higher of the 3, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the options are, so this is what to do when camping, ... In the rain is A, B, alone, or C, with friends. What to do when camping in the rain, what to do when camping alone, or what to do with camping with friends. Which one top?
The top. What to do? What to do with friends? Obvious.
Yeah, that is nice. Did you Google that? Well, I
No,
was
not at all.
okay.
That obvious. Like if I'm thinking about it normally, I'm like, yeah, what's the best thing to do with friends while you're camping? You're not
Yeah.
thinking about when it rains. You're not thinking about the negative stuff, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
A good point. Yeah. Okay. Question number 2. How to cut ... So your options are how to cut a mango, how to cut hair at home, or how to cut a dragon fruit.
They're at home.
Yeah. You're right. 2 for 2. Wow. Have you ever cut your own hair?
Yeah. I started, but I never finished.
What does that mean?
I mean, I only finished on Google.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, yeah. Okay, question number 3. Hiking is a ... So your options are hiking is a sport, hiking is a great source of pleasure, or hiking is a hobby.
Hobby.
Wrong.
Oh
Wrong.
shit. Okay. Is this sport?
It's a sport. Yeah, hiking
Yeah.
is a
Okay.
sport.
Yeah. That was my next guess.
Is hiking a sport or a hobby? Can you be a better hiker than someone, or you just like you go out and enjoy yourself hiking?
It's definitely a hobby.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure there's plenty of people who go out and they do it in a sport kind of manner, like a competitive manner.
Yeah.
But the majority of people would definitely do it as a hobby.
Yep. I agree. Okay, so you are 2 correct so far. So question number 4
Mhm.
is an Ironman ... A, suit possible, B, hard, or C, 4 coming out.
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one.
Is an
Uh,
Ironman suit
yeah.
possible, hard, or
I
4 coming out?
I'd say suit possible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, baby.
Nice.
Yeah, I should have thought about the last one because I would have got the last one if I thought a little more. But
Yeah. Okay. Actually, these questions were all kind of directed for your Iron Man thing too. Kind
really?
of.
Oh,
Kind
wow.
of. I mean, like that question and this one too. Question number 5, final question here. Actually, you've already won, so now this is just for bragging rights.
Mhm.
Um,
I could have got them all. I should have thought about the answer to the hiking one a little
mhm.
more. I would
Okay.
have got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Swimming in a dot dot dot. So your options are swimming in a lake, swimming in a dream, swimming in a swim spa.
Oh God, lake probably.
Eh,
Oh, a
Wrong.
dream, swimming in a dream.
Swimming in a dream.
Yeah, son of
Yeah.
a. That one, that was tough. That was tough.
Okay. Well, you did pretty good. Finish on Google. Great success. Perhaps a new game that would be featured regularly on the podcast.
Maybe a new name. Who
Maybe a
knows?
new name. Yeah, after this might have to. You're right. Do you have any? Have you looked up, like, have you dreamt lately and looked up the meaning of it? Are there any dreams that come to mind where you're like, oh, this was an interesting one? And then you looked up to see, hey, what does this dream mean? That's something you do?
Yeah, I had it. Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because it kind of blurs into the ether. But yeah, there's a few dreams this year where I did look up or the meaning of it. Um, there was one dream. We've heard of the dreams where your teeth fall out, right?
Right.
But my
Yeah.
there was one dream where my teeth, like, they didn't all fall out, and there's something with it. Oh God, I forget what it was. If I look through my Google history, I could find it. But
Yeah. I don't know
yeah,
if
I
that's a
did.
safe spot to look.
I
When I
nice.
look, I just typed in Google, and so the first two words are dreamwear. The number one response on that. Any guesses? Dreamwear.
Yeah, software.
Huh?
Software.
No, dreamwear, and then the next one is so the number one result is teeth fallout.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
so
So Dreamware is a video game company.
yeah, yeah, different where spelled different, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. Dreams where teeth fall out. Yeah.
Dreaming of losing them may be calling out to us to look at our worries and insecurities and inner stress and pain. When you lose a teeth in a dream, it could signal that you're afraid of something and you're not dealing with.
George, I have a feeling like you're asking me this because you want me to ask about your dreams.
No, I just I
George, what dreams have you had recently that you've recorded?
yeah, I don't.
Oh, you don't do
I do, but
that?
I
You don't have
really
anything
I very
notable?
very rarely remember dreams. I have a dream journal in my phone.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, like bust it out. Let's go. Let's go back through the ages and
yeah,
see.
there's like and a lot of these I write down because what you're supposed to do is so I'm trying to learn how to lucid dream. So I've got like some books on lucid dreaming. I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but
Yeah, you've been trying to lucid dream for a very long time.
for so long, and it's
Yeah.
just like so. There's a few tricks. So if you want to lucid dream, one thing you got to do during the day, just look at your hands regularly and just say, "Oh yeah, my hands are normal." Because in your dream, your hands are weird. So let's say you look at your hands and your hands are weird and they're like
Hmm.
squiggly, they don't look normal. Then you're
Hmm.
like, oh wow, I'm dreaming. And then you can like start to kind of control. That's what lucid dreaming is, or you can control what's happening in your dream.
Hmm.
So you do that. Another thing you should do during the day is look at a clock, like a wall clock. Not that there's many of those out there anymore, but if you see a wall clock, just check it out because in a dream, if you look at a wall clock, the clock's all weird and like the numbers are wrong and not in the right spot. So if you see that, then you're like, oh, I'm dreaming right now. And then you can theoretically
I'm sure it would work for like an analog watch too. Like if you had
probably,
an analog, yeah.
yeah. But when you're looking at your analog watch, just be like um cognizant of like, oh, this is normal right now. This is
Yeah.
I'm not dreaming at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a few things, and then other options are like which ones I won't do yet, but maybe at some point in the future. But you would like set an alarm at like 2 o'clock in the morning to wake yourself up out of like a REM sleep,
Mm.
and then you
That sounds really uncomfortable
yeah,
already.
well that's the thing.
Yeah.
Um, but then the other thing you're supposed to do is like as soon as you wake up, you write down your dream. So the trick is like write down your dream, and your dream is so fleeting, at least for me. I know for a lot of people too, but it's the more you think about it, the more you lose it. So you just got to start like writing it down. So I got like a pen and a pad next to the bed, but um okay, so let's see. The
And that's
last
that's probably the most important thing, I think, is as soon as you have a dream, write it down.
and the
You know?
reason for writing it down is so you remember it, and then when you remember a dream and you come back, because a lot of times dreams are repetitive, so you come back to the same spot and you're like, hey, I've been here before, I'm dreaming right now.
Oh,
And but you don't want to get too excited. As soon as if you get too excited, then you wake yourself up. So you just got to be
yeah.
like, oh, I'm dreaming right now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. What's
and
your resting heart rate, George?
like 7, I think. Pretty relaxed guy.
I,
Big
I,
veins.
so I was listening to. Okay, sorry. No, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go. Okay. I don't really know where I'm going with that. I'm working on lucid dreaming, trying to like I'd love to add that to a skill set if that's a skill, I don't know, but I just like the idea of the idea behind lucid dreaming is that you can kind of tap in to more of your brain and more of your thoughts and like look at things different ways while you're dreaming. And I always like that concept.
Well, yeah. No, I mean it expands your mind, right?
Yeah.
And you're the kind of guy that loves
Mm,
to push himself out of his comfort zone. And you like to do things differently than other people, right? You like to think for yourself. You're
mhm.
independent.
Yeah, I try to be sometimes. Um, but yeah, then there's reality too. So it's like, yeah, you can only be so independent in when there's yeah.
I think the fact that you're doing your own podcast is it's probably the most independent thing you can do.
Yeah, I think there's only like 17 million other people doing
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of independent people out there. It,
Yeah,
it doesn't take away your independence.
100%. That is a great way to look at it. Just be I You're right. If you're listening to this podcast and you need a little bit of motivation, to get going, just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean that you can't do it,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, really.
And
Yeah.
and like do it. Like, hey, if you want to start a podcast, start a podcast. The best thing about being independent and creating something yourself is that no one can take that away from you. No one can say, hey, that's you can't do this anymore. It's like, no, why? This is me. This is who I am. No one can steal that from you. Whereas sometimes when you I don't even know, like let's say you make a product or something, someone could steal that, right? But when you're using your own intellect or your own ideas or your own artwork, it's like, this is mine. This is what I came up with. This is my own artistic impression of this. That's you. I mean, no one's taking that from you. That's who you are. So
It's your creativity
your creativity.
coming to to like true form,
Yeah.
where people can they can experience you. So thank you for putting this out, George.
Yeah. I brought up my dream journal here. That's just
Attaboy.
my
Let's
last the
yeah,
last
let's get into it.
no. I was gonna read the last dream I had. And even when I'm writing this stuff down and now reading back, I'm like, it doesn't really make much sense, but I guess
Because
pretty
when you're
standard with
like you're
dreams.
half sleeping when you write it in,
Oh,
probably.
100%. I'm usually like, just woke up, fumbling with my phone, hard to see, hard to type, and being like, okay, just don't think too hard about it, but think a little bit about it.
Yeah,
The last dream I
yeah.
wrote down, accepted a challenge from Mr. Beast. He's a YouTube guy, if you don't know Mr. Beast.
Like in your dream?
Yeah,
Oh shit! What
had to,
kind of challenge?
all right, I had to climb down this tall rope and unlock 3 locks, and then jump into the water, carrying a key ring full of keys. I used the first key and then unlocked all 3 locks. Completed the challenge in like 2 minutes and got 2 grand from Mr. Beast for it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
fuck!
2 grand. It seems. I know it should be more.
See,
Then
it seems like a low amount for Mr. Beast.
Yeah. Then another obstacle challenge was at the Folding Mountain Brewery. There was like 100 people in the race. I started first and finished in first. The first part was climbing, and I had to carry 2 blue plastic bowling pins through it. And
Hmm.
that was the dream. That's when I woke up.
Two, the first part was climbing, and he carried 2 plastic blue bowling pins.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. What did you find out about that one?
It's hard
Like,
to yeah, it's hard to Google what that would be.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because that's pretty specific, you know? Like,
yeah.
huh,
Let me look up and see. Dream where carrying plastic
bowling
bowling
pins. Yeah,
pins.
right.
Let's
And they're
see.
blue. You gotta like,
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. Carrying blue plastic bowling. Imagine if someone's had this same dream. Hmm. Uh,
uh,
what does a dream? Here's one. What does a dream about bowling mean?
okay. That's a
Dream.
that's a good start. That's a good start.
Dreaming of bowling symbolizes social interaction, teamwork, and competition. It may represent your desire to be part of a group or achieve a common goal. All right. Um,
Okay. I got it. I got it. I know
hit
what your
me.
dream meant.
Hit me.
Um, so you're in the process of developing your team
Mm.
out where you're working, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming together, yeah, and you're controlling the pins, right? So
Mm.
you're throwing them down. You have 2 pins that you like especially.
Yeah.
So you carry them with you because you know that they can do the job. And blue is your favorite color. So
Hmm.
um
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. There's also what does the color blue mean in a dream spiritually? Dreaming
gay.
color blue.
It means you're gay.
Yeah.
Oh, means you're
Dreaming color
gay.
blue could signify a developing connection to your intuition and inner wisdom, a sense of peace and tranquility rooted in faith, or a greater openness to the
Oh
spiritual
God, that's
experiences
even
of the future.
better. Because like you're carrying these 2
Mm-hmm.
blue pins
Yeah.
that, and it's your intuition that you're carrying with you.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
God, that's a sweet dream, dude. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And I won 2 grand too. So it's like things are looking up.
So what does it mean when you win money in a dream?
Yeah. I don't know. Dream where, let's see. Dream when you win, where you win money. Let's see what that, where you
I
win.
mean, what I would guess it was like you're performing very well in your field, based on your intuition. You you don't even need 1 pin. You need 2 pins
Mm-hmm.
because your intuition is that solid. So you're moving forward with that.
When you're
Which
winning.
makes sense because you uprooted your entire life to go do what you want to do right now, right?
Yeah.
So
That makes
it
sense.
just
Yeah.
it seems like you're on the right path.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly. Maybe you should be a dream interpreter, Jamie. That's pretty much what the first response to Google says. It suggests that you are content with the direction your life is taking and that you're focusing on the present's positive aspects.
Oh, it makes sense. You
Yeah.
just like you line it up,
Yeah.
and just knock
Wow.
it down. Finish
Yeah.
on Google, baby.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Finish
Interesting.
on Google.
Finish on Google. Okay. Well, interesting episode of the Wilderness Wavelength podcast. You know what? I also should I bring it up this episode? Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. The Wilderness Wavelength podcast question of the week. You know the question of the week that happens every week now?
I do.
Yep. Has its first sponsor.
Oh no, wait. What's
Yeah.
the sponsor?
All right. Well, don't get too excited here.
No, you got
Uh,
to announce the sponsor at the beginning of
I know. I know. I should have.
it. So you should make it this like you should cut this out and make it the beginning of the podcast.
Well, I was gonna throw it in to the question of the week, but we were so talking about like forest fires and stuff that I'm like, oh, that might like, so I don't really want to like throw it in. So I am gonna bring it up at the end of this episode because it'll be ready to go for next week's episode. But the Wilderness Wavelength podcast question of the week is sponsored by.
It's because this episode is not good enough.
No, this episode's great. This episode's great,
It's not
James.
not good. It's not even gonna make it.
No.
So,
Uh,
cut.
Yeah. No, this is a good episode. The podcast question of the week is brought to you by Brewski Blazers. Now, in full disclosure, Brewski Blazers is also my company. And so is it weird? Okay. Is
That
it
you're
weird?
sponsoring your own podcast?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. perfect. So Brewski Blazers is
I mean, it might be a little weird, like unorthodox, maybe,
it's
but
weird
hey,
and it's unorthodox. And I had this plan for like 5 weeks, and every week when I do the podcast question of the week, I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. But I'm gonna I'm gonna go for it. I'm shooting for the moon. Go to brewskiblazers.com. I create and design these like amazing beer koozies. I'm a koozie collector. And if you use the code word wilderness wavelength, you'll get 20% off your order. And the proceeds from your purchase of a beer koozie from brewskiblazers.com.
here's what I'm thinking. Maybe like per episode, you should find something new to donate to.
Hmm, I was okay. I mean, I like where you're going with that. I was kind of hoping just to keep the money, but you are right. Like I should have. You're right. I should. Being a small town, living in a small town now, I do feel like I should be giving back to it more.
Well,
So
100%.
yeah, all right. Well, I do give back some already, so settle down. Um,
What do you give back?
um, well, I
Put
mean,
you on the spot?
yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay, well, okay. I mean, some of these announcements, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really giving back yet, but okay. So I'm part of the Beaver Boardwalk Oversight Committee. We talked about this
Oh,
in a few
perfect.
episodes ago. So like, I feel like I'm
Perfect.
giving back a little bit there. It's not like a huge commitment yet or anything, but I wanted to be part of that because it was one of the reasons I moved out here. Another thing that we had talked about, we'd spent the weekend last podcast. You would have heard it. We were live at the Wild Map Music Festival, fully run by volunteers. So we're gonna sign. I think Christina's on board with this too. She was talking about being down with it. So we're gonna sign up to be volunteers. I'm not sure what that entails or what we would be doing or anything, but we'll go and help out with the concert next year or throughout the year as we build up to it. So I feel like that's a couple ways I can give back.
So
How,
I think the people need to know that you're giving back, and we're we're okay. We're okay with you giving back. Thank you,
okay. Yeah.
George.
You living in a small town, Jamie, what do you feel like becoming like the volunteer firefighter? Is that your way of giving back?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that and I I don't know if you know me, George, but I give all the time. I try to give as much as I can.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first met, it was kind of funny because I'd take, but now I give, and I just
Yeah.
want you to know that
Yeah. What is your favorite thing to give to?
my favorite thing to give to is to give my time to people who need it.
Time is the most valuable thing you can give. And I agree with that too. Money's nice, but time is such a valuable asset that if you can take some time out of your schedule and help someone or help an organization or whatever, like that is a lot of the time the biggest impact you can have, especially in a small town where everything's kind of like a lot of time it's grassroots run, like there's just a community board or some volunteers are like, hey, we're trying to put this together, can you come help with that? It's like, yeah, sure, let's put some time into it.
Absolutely. So you've been giving back, but you'd never say it online.
No, I have not been giving back, but I am thinking about giving back is a great idea, and I will think about it more for sure. I'll think
Mhm.
about you're right, I will give more stuff for time,
You do
I guess.
you give back. You've given your time to all these people. So thank you, George.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. If you are looking to give back to your community, give us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple. That's the best thing you
That's
could do with your time. Tell a friend, like call your mom right now, tell her about the podcast, and
oh God.
yeah.
Oh, what happened? Should be doing a comedy podcast.
Shoot, I do have. Oh, there's a few guests that are coming up that we've had on Jamie and I used to do a couple different podcasts together before. We used to have a lot of comedians and stuff on, and I ran into should I bring yeah Dan Clark,
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. You
comedian.
ran into him?
Yeah, well, he lives out in this area now too, and then he was at the Wildmont Music Festival there too, and he
Oh,
bought.
no way.
Yeah, he came on the podcast a few different times. He was like a comedian and stuff, but I always like loved him. I was like, I don't really know him all that good or anything, but every time he came on, I was just like, man, this guy, I want to be friends with this guy. This guy's
Yeah,
cool.
solid guy. Isn't it
Solid
funny
dude.
how like it comes together?
Yeah, and so he's like, yeah, he's down to come on the podcast too. So I'm gonna get him on, and we got some really interesting guests lined up in the near future. We're working on, I think next week. I'm hoping I can swing it all next week, and we'll make it happen. But in the very near future, if not next week, the week after, a guy who's survived a grizzly attack. So that'll be interesting. Yeah,
Shit. That
and
would
then
be awesome.
yeah, and then the week after, we're gonna interview the bear, and it's gonna be it's like Jerry Springer stuff.
I wonder what the bear would say.
Yeah. And then, I mean, as we get a little closer, too, people have been emailing, wondering about like, because we brought it up a few times, just hunting stuff. It's like, oh, are you doing a hunting episode? A hunting season coming up very shortly, and I got drawn for muley buck, just kind of north of Hinton, and antlerless elk south of Hinton. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, I'm excited. I haven't harvested
Hunted a muley before?
I never hunted a muley before. I almost shot one accidentally because we were hunting whitetail and came around this corner in the truck, and I was in there with my dad, and Jeff was in the back seat too. And we looked at this muley buck. Well, this giant buck was standing like 50 yards away.
This
Just
gigantic buck.
oh, it was so big. It was just standing there staring, and I was just like, my dad was like, go, get. I was like, perfect. So I was like getting out of the truck, and then Jeff's like, hey, that's a muley. That's a muley. And I was like,
Yeah. Good call. Thanks, Jeff.
thanks for ruining that big buck, Jeff. Because it stood there the whole thing, like, open the door, still standing there. I'm like standing there with the gun, and it's like, so I can't shoot this thing? No. And then you get back in the truck. It was like, I think it was October, early November or something. Like, it was chilly out, whatever. But get back in the truck, and then we're just like staring at each other. And the big buck's just like, hey, man, what? Not good enough for
Yeah.
you or something?
You don't want to shoot me? What the hell?
Weird.
So, I hate to say it, but muleys, they're a little bit slow. They're a little bit dumb compared to whitetails.
Oh,
And that's,
yeah.
Yeah. And
They're
like
just
in comparison.
What do you think they're dumber, or just like more like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like, not considerate, but like they do a little more thinking, like they see the truck and the whitetail's just like, I'm out of here, and the muley's like, let's see, what kind of truck is this, and okay, how's this
I like
guy?
that attitude
Yeah.
for sure.
They're a
I
little
think
more
that kind of attitude
contemplative.
would get you killed a lot more quickly, I guess.
It's true. Yeah, you always gotta, like, when you're in a bar fight or something, you gotta take the first punch rather than
Yeah, then contemplate about it.
Yeah.
Oh, where am I gonna hit him? Maybe the throat?
Yeah.
Maybe the okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
I like where this went.
This episode is degraded into this, but yes, thank you for listening. Thanks for getting this far, and thank you for joining the Wilderness Wavelength podcast. We are now too, if you want to listen to a podcast, they are available on YouTube also, so check that out. Okay. Thanks for joining me, Jamie. It's always good to catch up with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always just an excuse just to chat more, since we don't live close to each other.
I love talking to you, George. I think you're one of the most interesting people that I know. I can't think of a more interesting person than I know.
All right.
I really enjoy talking to you.
Okay.
So thank you for having me on the show. It means a lot.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Wilderness Wavelength.